Hey, what's up guys? Nick Quintero here, and today is part 2 on how to make pins for your brand or business. All right, let's go. All right, last week's video was more about how to choose the right elements and icons and things to make your pin out of, so that way you're not just making your logo or something super basic. So make sure that you are taking that stuff into consideration before you choose the actual artwork that you're going to use to make your pin. For today, I'm going to use an example using an illustration that I made for my Instagram. It was actually a commissioned piece of art, but it was an illustration of Casey Musgraves. So consider this like if you are a musician or a band or whatever, or if you just have something similar to represent your brand. This is how you would actually use Adobe Illustrator to turn that design into working pin art. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. Cool, so I'm just gonna paste in this illustration that I did of Casey Musgraves from my Instagram. And the first thing that you wanna think about is designing this to the actual scale of what it's going to be like. So for me, I like to keep my pins around 1 to 1 1/4 inches. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and just select my rectangle tool. I'm gonna click once instead of drawing it, so that way I can control the size of this. So I'm gonna make this rectangle or square 1.25 inches. I'm gonna press D for the default coloration there. Now this is what size this pin is gonna be in the end. So I just scale this down to be about roughly matched up with that square. So now this is the art size I'm going to be working with. Now the reason why you want to do this is because there's a limit to how small your lines can be whenever they actually manufacture these pins. So you want to make sure that you know what your details and things are gonna look like. So I'm gonna do what I usually do, which is change my color to something bright like this magenta. I'm gonna take my pen tool and I'm going to start drawing some of these lines into vectors. All right, so now I want to point out that I'm using 1 point. This is the default stroke weight, and this is pretty standard for what you want your pin outlines to be. So if you look close, it's a little tiny bit thicker than the lines that were already there, and that is perfect, because if it was a lot thinner, I would be really scared that we were going to lose some detail in other parts. My neighbor's dogs are going crazy. I'm sorry if you can hear them in the background. That is super frustrating and annoying. All right, so I'm just going to finish up drawing some rough outlines on this shape. And the reason I chose this artwork is because I felt like it was a nice, solid shape all around that would be pretty, easy to translate into a cool pin. So the first thing I'm doing here is just drawing all outlines. So even though this is filled in here, I want to make sure everything is drawn in shapes. You can see I kept the eyebrow parts separate. So what I'm gonna do on this one is try to keep it fairly small, because this nose line is gonna be solid here. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do, I am struggling with my pen tool today. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is make sure that these lines are actually rounded caps. So I click on this little middle button here for the round cap. So that way where this nose line and things like that end, you get a nice solid ending there. Okay, so for this line, I'm actually going to lower my stroke a little bit. The lowest that you really want to go is like 0.5. You'll start to struggle with the details you can see in the end product if you go any lower than that. So I like to keep it right around there. Whoa. All right, I'm actually going to draw this in as a solid shape and not a stroke, because it's just like got like a nice, teardrop shape to it. And I don't really want to mess with that. So we'll keep it a solid shape. So if you ever have this problem where your strokes are scaling with your shapes whenever you make them bigger or smaller, just press Command K. It'll open your preferences and uncheck Scale Strokes and Effects. Now, when you shrink something that you've copied, it should stay in perfect proportions. Okay, so this is pretty much step one. I'm going to copy or cut all of these onto a new layer, and we're going to call this the metal outline. So essentially, this is the metal shape that you're going to have for your pen. Now, I do kind of want to go ahead and come in here and create another piece here to fill in those eyes. That looks much closer to the original, and I like that better. Let's go ahead and make this a gold color. I'm going to add this to my swatches. I'm going to select all my outlines, and I'm going to make them the same color. Whoa, select the outlines. All right, so this is what it's going to look like if I decide to make this in gold. But I think I actually want to make this in silver. Love this. Think it looks awesome. But I also want to do these stars in the silver metal, but they are too small. So I can't just use the art the way it is, and I'm actually not even going to try. So what I'm going to do is take my pencil tool, and thinking about this 0.75 stroke here, I'm going to trace over a couple of these parts to see what they will look like in that width. All right, I'm going to expand this so that the stroke on this guy goes away and use that. Okay, now instead of copy and pasting this all over, I'm just going to drag all of these elements into my swatches. It creates a new pattern tile. I'm going to delete these, and I'm going to, see, this is a solid shape here. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy it, paste it in back. I'm going to turn off the stroke, and in my main color, I'm going to fill with this star pattern. Now I'm going to double click on this so we get our options here. I'm going to change the tile type to brick by column, and I'm going to edit this slightly. I'm keeping this pattern more spaced out than the original one. I keep saying spaced out. I'm putting more space in between these elements than the original drawing because of the nature of the metal fill and all that. Okay, so now let's go ahead and start filling in these other elements here. Actually, let's make a new layer. Let's call this color fill. And what I'm gonna do so that these layers work together is I'm going to grab this, copy it, paste it in front, select that and my pattern at the same time, and use this to knock that shape out. So now I can use my color fill layer specifically to get some colors. So right now I have my metal outline, which includes my stars. So this is just the pattern shape, and I knocked out the shape of the face so that the stars were not in here. I actually should erase some of it where these earrings are, or at least this side, so that there's no pattern in there. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and erase the whole thing because I don't want any stars popping up weirdly behind this earring. It's weird enough that there's some on the outside, but that is where I want all of my star and space, so I think it looks really great. So there are a couple of choices I could make here because those eyebrows were dark, so they are essentially going to be filled in with the silver metal. Now, the reason I didn't do this earlier is because I want to be able to have the option, if this ends up looking bad at the end, I want to be able to take these out easily. So that's why I make sure that they are editable. All right, I think this looks really awesome and I'm pretty stoked on it, but I just got another idea for something that I might like better. So I'm going to select all of this stuff and hold Option and drag this over. And if you hold Shift, it'll stay in one place. And I'm going to go to this metal outline and I'm going to delete this star pattern, and I'm going to replace it with a glitter fill. That could also be another really amazing option. And now we're going to move on to step 2, which is making this production ready. All right, in the last episode, I showed you guys this art file on the scorpion pin. So I'm going to use this same one to create the production artwork for these Casey Musgraves pins. Make sure I have everything, copy it over. And now I'm going to take this one first. I'm going to select it all, go to Object, Expand, Fill and Stroke, click OK. Now, it looked like it kind of jumped around, but you know, it is what it is. If you grab everything now at this point, you should see that there is no stroke. So I've expanded these outlines so that they can be production ready. Now, this should match up to the height here, the height call out of 1.25, and then we'll roughly do a measurement of what the width is here. So if you select it, you'll see up here it's 1.114. So I'm going to do 1.11. Now I'll delete my scorpion. Now I've got my Casey Musgraves. Okay, I'm going to use a Pantone color to replace these. And I low-key want to see, here, let's select this one and expand it so the outlines are expanded. Let's select this silver here and try it. Man, that looks pretty damn good in gold too. Okay, I'm a sucker for gold. I'm gonna stick with that. I'm gonna change these earrings to a cool gray so that they look a little bit silver in this artwork instead. All right, we're gonna move to gold. I like this a lot better. All right, let's do the same thing we did here. Make sure that this is 1.25. Scorpion. This one here. Now, if you look on these scorpions, I have this texture. So I'm going to move this over. Now, what I do to show the back is I will grab her, copy her over, flip her, use my Pathfinder to make this one piece. So now you can position your backer wherever you want it to be. If you need more than one, you can show the factory that. I think this one only needs one somewhere there in the middle, and that totally works for me. Okay. Try and make those very similar. And all right. All right, now I have my Nick Q skull here. I'm just going to create a little tag for myself. Let's do it in, let's just do Helvetica. Make it easy on everybody. I'll make these all caps. Now this is going to be my laser engraved artwork for myself. And what I'm going to do is make it a little bit darker version of the gold so that it shows what it's supposed to be. Make sure I put it on both of them, and I'm going to drag it over here, and I'll show you why in a bit. All right, so now we've got our artwork all mocked up over here, and these are actual usable files that the factory can use to produce these pins. Now it's time to call out our details. Our design name, KM, or no, let's call it Spacey KC. We're going to use hard enamel because we want this to be hard enamel that goes almost flush with the top of the metal outline. The metal finish is gold, fill colors, so we're going to have to add to this. So I'm going to copy this a few times. I'm going to make sure that there is white called out. And I'm going to use my swatches trick from my last quick tip video. Delete the unused panels so that only the things that are used in here will show up. So I know I need this skin color, I need this lip color, and oh, I guess there's only one color left. I need this cool gray. So if you click on this button here, it shows you a list so you can see everything. Oh, that's not a cool gray. It's 422C. This one is 475C. This one is 486C. This really, really helps the factory, and it helps get exactly what you're going for the first time around. All right, so we know we have black rubber clutch, we have fine pebble texture, and we have 2 color options. One black fill, air, black glitter. So these are 2 different pins because this star pattern would actually have to be made out of the metal. That means it would have to be put into the mold. So when you're making pins, you have a mold fee. And so because these 2 are different, they would actually cost more because you would need to make 2 molds and you would have 2 completely different minimums for each one of these pins. If you used this one design and made it in gold and silver, you would only have 1 mold fee and you could split your order up on those colors. But since this one is a completely different design, technically, you're not going to be able to get the advantage of mixing and matching. So you would have to get a minimum of 100 pieces of each of these. So for me, I'm submitting this so that I can get a quote on the price of each of these so that I can compare them and I can see what option I want to go with based on how much it costs. Need quotes for both options. I'm going to make these like bullet points. So that way they know what I'm talking about. And this is laser art. And let's just separate this by line so that it's clear. All right, so I'm going to copy and paste this artwork into my enamel pin mockup file. So you can see I've got the metal outline and the enamel fill. And actually what I'm going to do is open each of these in their own window. And now I have only the gold outline. So I'm going to save both of these files since they're smart objects. You'll see them update over here. All right, I'm kind of going out on a limb here. I'm going to make a copy of my gold metal, and I'm going to make it a little bit darker to represent something like antique gold. See if making it darker helps the artwork. Actually, it really does. Okay, I think that looks so much better. It could also be like a brass, but I think the antique gold is much, much better. And then I'm actually going to go back to my Illustrator file and make sure that I darken up this gold color. I can't spell it all today. My God. Okay. I'm going to resave this. I think that looks super awesome. And I love the way this pin came out. I wish it was real. I wish this was something that I could actually make. Unfortunately, this is just an example for this video, but you know what? It's all good. I love this. I can post that mock-up and, you know, it's just art. It's just fan art. And that's as far as it's going to be able to go. All right, guys, so that's it for this week's video. I hope this helped you figure out how to make your own pins for your business, your brand, your band, whatever it is. I really, love to see great pins. I love to collect great pins. So I hope this is content that's going to help some great new pins be brought out into the world. All right, guys, thank you so much for checking out this video. If this is your first time checking them out, please make sure that you subscribe to my channel. I post a lot of tutorials involving making t-shirts, graphic design, and merch, things like this. It also helps tremendously if you hit that little subscribe button so that way you can be notified every time I post a new video. And if you give me a like, then it helps other people find this video. It helps them know that it's good content and it's worth their time to watch it. All right, guys, that's it for this one. Thanks so much for checking it out, and I'll catch you on the next one. Later.